My dad, Dr. Peter Onyige, was a lecturer in geography growing up. So we grew up in an university environment in Nigeria. I had four younger siblings, and every day they come back from school, I'll just line them up and I'll be writing on the board and teaching them stuff. So I always wanted to be in academia to pursue that career path. However, when I was 13, I lost my dad very tragically, and that was when it became glaring that I couldn't just choose any career that I wanted. We needed to support each other. We're a family of my mom and 7 kids. I started out in the oil and gas industry, petroleum engineer, and I spent 13 years there. So what drove me to do that, first of all, was money. The oil and gas industry pays quite high, and I came from a family where we needed to support each other. So I took that, and it was very lucrative. But I noticed that while I was working, many times I was teaching people, and at the end of the year, when they're evaluating me, all those other things I did by the side didn't count. It was like, how much money did you bring, and things like that. So I wasn't really fulfilling what was natural to me. And I then had an opportunity during, I think that was 2014, when the oil price dropped and I had 1 year to stay at home. I went to a school to teach just to pass the time, and I realized that I enjoyed myself. And that was when I knew that I would not last long in the oil and gas industry, that I needed to join academia. So in 2017, that was when I left the oil and gas industry, packed my bags from Nigeria, and decided to do a PhD. That was at Stanford University in energy resources engineering. I started looking at geothermal reservoir engineering. And I thought that was where my career was just going to be. And afterwards, I got a postdoc back at Stanford, where they exposed me to carbon capture and storage, as well as hydrogen storage. So it was kind of new for me, but I found that the experience I had in the oil and gas industry, combined with what I had learned in geothermal energy, all came together to help me understand CO2 storage, carbon dioxide storage, and hydrogen storage. I graduated 2021. So 2022, I came here to Texas A&M. I've been here for 2 years, started doing my research, trying to further what I had done in my postdoc, to expand it, to answer some of the unanswered questions that I couldn't answer then. And so that's what has driven my research over here. When I got in, I heard everybody talking about somebody called Stratos. And they said I had to meet with Stratos. And so one day I came in to visit with him, to discuss with him, and we got talking about my research. And he said something very profound. He said, I'm going to help you to be great. I'm going to give you some seed funding to start. So he had this hydrogen lab that was already set up. He said I could use what he already has. He understood that as a new professor, it's going to take me years and money to be able to get to that. So it was actually at a point where I was really asking myself, do I really need to be here or not? And when he said that, that was when I went and made my decision. I was going to stay in Texas A&M. So it was really a decision-changing point, meeting him and getting the support from him. And so that's how I became familiar with the Energy Institute. And everybody here has been very supportive, very. We are looking for energy resources to meet the growing demand. We have a history of producing sources that contribute to CO2 emissions or greenhouse gas emissions. So we need to think about sustainable ways or alternative sources of fuel that wouldn't, result in those high greenhouse gas emissions. And so things like hydrogen, if it's produced directly from the subsurface, it's coming out with a little bit of impurities, but we can manage it. But hydrogen as a gas, if we do pass it through any combustion engine, is going to react hydrogen and oxygen to generate water. So we're not going to be generating those greenhouse gases that have been an issue. So for me, it's looking at how can we find those sources that will give us the hydrogen, how can we produce it, and at a cheap rate, comparable to what we're seeing with other sources of fuel, and also be able to estimate or show that the greenhouse gases from it is minimal. Could anybody convince me to go back to the oil and gas industry? Well, if the money is very, very good, maybe, but I think there's much more fulfillment when I see the products, the students, when I see the, moving them from a level of, I didn't know this at all till I'm an expert. I appreciate or understand, first of all, the anxiety of, am I good enough? Am I going to do something that would make an impact and a difference? And so that I understand in terms of students. I also understand that every individual is different and unique, but I believe that everybody has potential, and just given the right mentorship and guidance, they could get to that place that they need to get to. What I see here from my own lens, I see this interdisciplinary, merging of ideas, research, teaching, interdisciplinary, that helps to equip people with knowledge of where we are with regards energy and sustainability. It's much more than just looking at, small little pockets of research. It's also something that is building leaders, people that really understand what the issues are and could develop solutions for those issues.